He has written a book that you don't normally get to hear about. Mr. Smith Goes to Prison. It's Jeff Smith was a former state senator here in Missouri, and through a series of incidents, found himself in jail wrongfully. He did some things wrong, admitted to it finally, and spent a year in jail. He's now a professor at the New School in New York, but spends a lot of time here in St. Louis. His book is Mr. Smith Goes to Prison. He'll be at Left Bank Books tonight for a book signing and a book reading. Mr. Smith Goes to Prison, What My Year Behind Bars Taught Me About American Prison Crisis. Would you ever put your name on a ballot again, Jeff Smith?
McGraw, I got to tell you, if I got the idea in my head to do it,
Yes.
and I went down to the courthouse to file, I would run into my wife there filing for divorce.
So there's no way.
No.
Because she doesn't want you to be that guy again. She doesn't want you to do it. It's too what? What's her?
Because
Did she know you before?
she started writing me while I was locked up.
Okay.
One of those people.
Yeah.
Just kidding, man. I totally had you.
Yeah, you
Did I not have him?
Why,
I totally had him.
Why wouldn't I? Why wouldn't I believe that?
No, she actually.
I was like, wow. Now that's a story.
She actually moved into my house 2 days before I found out that my friend was wired.
Okay.
And she hadn't unpacked the boxes yet. And I had to go see her at work and say, look, you know, I just found out that my friend was wearing a wire the last couple months, and I'm probably going to have to go to prison, and you might want to just go home and get the boxes without even unpacking them, and maybe I won't even come home tonight, so I'm not watching over you while you do it, and you can just do that. And then I was locked up about 8 hours away from here, but she came every single month to come see me. The prison made it very difficult sometimes.
Right.
One time she came and she was wearing khaki shorts, or she was wearing khaki pants, and they wouldn't let her see me. Even though we didn't wear khaki, they said, no, that's against the rules. She had to drive about an hour to a place where she could find something to buy, to wear. By the time she got back, she could only see me for a few minutes and then had to drive back 8 hours. You know, she had some difficult experiences. It was very hard on her. It was very hard on my family. And you know what? I was only locked up for a little less than a year.
Right.
I was with guys like my first cellie, who was locked up for most of the last 25 years, with the exception of a few months. Other guys that I was with had, 15, 20 years. So I had it pretty easy. I had every advantage coming out relative to those guys.
Right.
A PhD from a great university. I'm white. Great family and community support. Most of these guys had none of that. And it was hard for me to get a job coming out. So imagine how hard it is for most people.
By the way, you should marry that girl.
You know, not only are we married, but we have a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old.
Well, congratulations. It's a great story. Last question for you, Jeff Smith. Mr. Smith goes to prison. You said that you talk to a lot of politicians and a lot of elected officials who ask you for advice and so on and so forth. Do you think it's possible that if a politician, somebody who's running for office, came out and explained to the American people how it would save them money in the long run if they were to take a more proactive, humanitarian approach to prison, do you think the American public would understand it and support that candidate for office?
I do, because I think we're in a unique moment here politically where the conservative party in this country that would typically be a little more maybe resistant to that type of logic. There's basically 3 philosophical streams that comprise the modern Republican Party. Libertarian conservatives, led by the Paul, kind of faction.
Right.
And they want drug decriminalization and big government not watching to see if you're lighting up a joint. And so they're against, mandatory minimums for drugs and other things. Social conservatives, led by, Christian evangelical Christians, who want to redeem the souls of those in prison and have leaders like Chuck Colson was in the prison reform movement.
Right.
And then fiscal conservatives, people like Nikki Haley, the governor of South Carolina, that are sick and tired of spending all this money, that we're getting a terrible return on our investment for when people keep recidivating. So all 3 major philosophical streams of the Republican Party have a reason to support this, and that's why I think we're in a moment where some of that logic could be persuasive.
Really interesting stuff. Mr. Smith Goes to Prison is the book. Jeff Smith, the author. Left Bank Books tonight for a book signing and a book reading. You're always welcome here, my friend. Thanks.
Thank you so much, McGraw.
941, Big 550, KTRS.